When Trevor Harrison boarded his flight from Chicago to Paris, he told himself he was ready, culturally prepared. Even, he'd watched half a dozen YouTube videos titled things like "Don't Be That American Abroad" and "How Not to Embarrass Yourself in France." He practiced ordering espresso with a dramatic, almost theatrical "Un café, s'il vous plaît," to which his dog stared as if begging him to stop. He even memorized 3 basic phrases: bonjour, merci, and pardon, which he repeated so often that his seatmate on the plane eventually switched seats. Trevor's first full day in Paris was supposed to be easy. Walk around, soak in the scenery, and grab a cute little breakfast at a cute little café like the cultured, international gentleman he believed he was rapidly becoming. Nothing ambitious, nothing heroic. No Eiffel Tower selfies yet, just vibes. He stepped out of his hotel onto a cobblestone street that looked like a postcard, breathed in the crisp morning air, and thought, wow, Paris is basically Europe's New York, but with fewer rats and way more carbohydrates. His chest puffed with confidence. Today he would blend in. He spotted a sidewalk cafe lined with tiny round tables, wicker chairs, and Parisians doing what Parisians do, best looking effortlessly fashionable, while pretending not to care about anything. Trevor strutted over, sat down, and immediately knocked the table with his knee, sending the water glass trembling like it was trying to escape. Smooth start, a waiter with sharp features, a sharper jawline, and an expression that suggested he had been unimpressed since birth approached. Without saying a word, the man placed a menu in front of Trevor and stepped back like a disappointed magician. Trevor smiled wide. "Bonjour," he said with the enthusiasm of a man auditioning for a toothpaste commercial. The waiter blinked. "Bonjour," he replied flatly, in the tone one might use when greeting a mailbox. Trevor studied the menu, pretending he understood at least 40% of it. There were no pancakes, no waffles, no scrambled eggs, no sign of anything that screamed American breakfast, which made him suspicious. At last, he pointed to croissant, because it was the only thing he was 99% sure wouldn't surprise him. "And a café?" he added. "Très bien," the waiter said, and disappeared. Trevor felt triumphant. "I'm doing it. I'm ordering in French. Maybe I actually belong here." A woman passing by glanced at him, probably because he looked overly pleased with himself. Trevor interpreted it as cultural acceptance. His croissant arrived. Golden, flaky, perfect. His coffee arrived in a cup small enough to make him question his life choices. He ate slowly, taking in the scenery, watching people stroll by with the grace of ballet dancers who had no idea ballet existed. Everything felt poetic, romantic, cinematic. When he finished, Trevor decided it was time to pay and gracefully demonstrate his understanding of European customs, or customary but not expected. Honestly, the information online had been confusing. Blogs contradicted each other. Travel forums argued like medieval philosophers. A TikTok creator had confidently claimed French people do not accept tips. They actually get offended. Trevor chose to trust the TikTok, but he was still American, and Americans tip out of muscle memory. So he compromised with a €5 coin, a gesture that said, "I respect your culture, but I also don't want bad karma." The check came on a tiny silver tray, the kind that makes you feel like you're in a movie where nothing bad ever happens. Trevor placed the €5 coin neatly on top, aligned the receipt, and sat back with the satisfaction of a man who believed he had absolutely nailed this interaction. The waiter returned. He lifted the coin, looked at it, then looked at Trevor slowly, deliberately, as though examining a strange species. Then came a sound so delicate, so refined, so devastatingly French, a short, elegant laugh. Not a loud laugh, not a mocking laugh, but the kind of laugh someone gives when they've just heard a mildly amusing podcast while sipping expensive wine. Trevor's smile froze. Problem?" The waiter tilted his head with professional patience. "Monsieur," he said, €5 is not quite, how you say, customary here." "Oh, is it too much?" Trevor asked hopefully. It was absolutely not too much. The waiter shook his head. "It is cute." "Cute?" Trevor Harrison, grown man, tax-paying citizen, proud owner of a functioning beard, was being called cute. The waiter continued, "Perhaps you are American, yes?" Trevor nodded because lying would only make this worse. The waiter's expression softened slightly, as if he'd suddenly understood everything about Trevor all at once. The accent, the bright sneakers, the earnestness radiating from his pores. "Yes," the waiter said gently. "I thought so. Do not worry. We teach. What was this? An after-school program for confused tourists?" Trevor reached for his wallet, unsure whether he was supposed to add more or take back the coin entirely and flee the country. "How much is normal?" Trevor asked. The waiter gestured vaguely, like a poet describing the wind. "Something small. Not necessary. Just a touch. But €5. He smiled again, this time without the laugh. "It is a message." "A message?" "Yes, it says I am American and I do not know how France works." Trevor wanted the earth to open, preferably under the chair of someone else so he wouldn't be alone. Desperate to fix the situation, he added another coin. The waiter nodded approvingly, barely, subtly, like a Parisian conferring a rare blessing. As Trevor stood to leave, the waiter said, "Next time, monsieur, you will do better." Paris teaches quickly. Trevor stepped onto the sidewalk, his soul bruised but wiser. He'd survived his first cultural misstep, and Paris had laughed at him with elegance. And the day was only beginning. Trevor walked away from the café trying to look like a man who had not just been softly roasted by a French waiter. He kept repeating the waiter's parting words. Paris teaches quickly, like it was some mystical prophecy or the tagline of a perfume commercial. He took a deep breath. "Okay, Trevor, you messed up once. That's fine." No one saw, except that entire row of old French men who definitely laughed into their newspapers. "But still, you're good. Reset. Let the city love you." He turned a corner and immediately tripped on a cobblestone that was either uneven or personally holding a grudge against him. A passing cyclist shouted something in French that Trevor assumed translated to, "Please enjoy your stay in our beautiful country, kind visitor." He nodded politely. Trevor decided to head toward the river. No tipping tests there, no elegant waiters, no miniature coffees designed to question the manhood of tourists. Just scenery, safe, harmless scenery. He made it to the Seine without further cultural disasters. And for a while he simply walked, watching boats glide by, artists sketching strangers, and couples holding hands like they invented romance. It was peaceful, beautiful, restorative, until he got hungry again. Across the river, he spotted a street vendor selling crepes, with a line of locals, the magical sign of good food. Trevor stepped into the line, proud of himself for avoiding anything too fancy this time. Street food felt safer, less judgmental, less likely to involve silver trays or financial humiliation. When it was his turn, the crepe vendor, an older man with a mustache so dignified it could chair its own political party, smiled warmly. "Bonjour, monsieur. What would you like?" Trevor grinned. Crepe Nutella." He practiced that pronunciation 3 times in his head before saying it. Perfect execution, he thought. The vendor nodded and began spreading batter with a flourish. Trevor admired the skill, the spin, the flip, the artistry. It was like witnessing a culinary ballet. Then he saw the price, €750. Trevor pulled out a €10 note and handed it over. The vendor returned €2.50 in change. Trevor froze. The tipping question. He didn't want another French stranger calling him cute. He didn't want another laugh. He didn't want to be adopted by Parisian society as the city's official mascot of cultural confusion. So he made a bold decision, a brave decision, a catastrophically wrong decision. He handed the vendor the entire €250 back. "For you," he said confidently. The vendor blinked, then blinked again, then checked the coins like they might be counterfeit or part of a hidden camera prank. "Are you sure?" he asked in French-accented English. "Oh yeah," Trevor replied, puffing his chest like a man who finally understood tipping in France. "Keep it." The vendor stared at him for a moment, then burst into the most dramatic laugh Trevor had ever heard. like someone had just revealed they named their cat. Croissant or confess to putting ketchup on baguettes. Mon Dieu!